Chief Minister of Kerala, Shri Oman Chandi, Minister of Overseas Indian Affairs, Shri Vyala Ravi, my colleagues in the Union Council of Ministers, Shri Kamal Nath, Shri Salman Khurshid, Professor K.V. Thomas, Shri E. Ahmed, Shri Shashi Tharoor, Honorable Ministers of the Government of Kerala, Honorable Ministers from various states of the Union, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On the occasion of this year's Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, it is my honor to welcome our chief guest, His Excellency Rajeshwar Puriag, President of the Republic of Mauritius. President Puriag's record of public service over 4 decades and his many achievements are a source of great pride for people of Indian origin across the world. Excellency, your presence in Kerala today reminds us of the deep civilizational, linguistic, cultural, and religious ties between India and Mauritius. The shores of our two countries are washed by a common ocean, and both our countries have a shared interest in peace and prosperity in the Indian Ocean region. I am therefore very thankful to you, Your Excellency, for accepting our invitation to be the chief guest at this year's Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. We are also extremely grateful to the Government of Mauritius for its support to the regional Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention held in Port Louis in October 2012. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there could not have been too many better alternatives to Kerala for hosting this year's Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Ladies and gentlemen, post-independence, overseas Indians have served as a bridge of friendship and cooperation between India and their adopted homes abroad. Regardless of whether they are successful professionals, traders, and entrepreneurs, or second-generation Indians comfortably reconciling their two identities, or workers styling hard to build a future for their families, they are at all times a most effective window for the world to India's heritage and its progress. We in the government will do all that is possible to deepen our connection with India and advance their interests, while honoring their achievements. We will also seek to facilitate their travel, business, and education and make it easier for them to be a part of life in India, enjoy due rights, and participate in India's economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Indian expatriate community develops a more global presence, they also become more vulnerable to economic crises, conflicts, civil unrest, or just senseless hate crimes. At a time of turbulence in many parts of the world, the safety and security of overseas Indian communities are uppermost in our mind. We derive comfort from the assurances that we have received from governments in the countries of your residence that they will do everything for your safety and security. We recognize that the primary responsibility rests with the host countries, but when needed, as was the case last year in Libya, our government will provide prompt and necessary assistance. Apart from physical safety, we are also concerned with the social and emotional well-being of our overseas brethren. Kerala is blessed by the generosity of nature, the hospitality of its people, and the richness of its culture. This gives it a well-deserved right to claim that Kerala is God's own country. The shores of Kerala have been part of the global currents of commerce, culture, and religion since ancient times. This state was one of the first to come into contact with Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It had a strong tradition of maritime trade extending from the Gulf and Europe in the west to China in the east. Today, residents of this vibrant state of the Union lead the country not only in terms of their global presence, but also in their achievements on various social indicators. I am therefore delighted that Kerala is hosting this year's event, and for this I thank the Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, my friend Oman Chandy. Ladies and gentlemen, over the ages, the relationship between Pravasis and Bharat has taken many forms. One of its most glorious manifestations has been their contribution to India's independence movement. Nearly 100 years ago, almost to this day, Mahatma Gandhi returned to lead a nation's march to freedom. This year, we are celebrating the centenary of the Ghadar movement, which was a luminous spark of support in distant California for the struggle for independence being waged at home in our country. Apart from commemorating it by the issue of a special postage stamp today, we will also upgrade the Ghadar Memorial in San Francisco into a functional museum and library with a sculpture to honor the Ghadar Babas, the heroes of this great national movement. We have therefore launched an insurance scheme for workers, established welfare funds in our embassies for distressed Indians, and created mechanisms to help vulnerable women abroad. This protection and promotion of the rights and interests of Indian businesses, professionals, and workers abroad is also a key task for our missions in various countries. Our comprehensive economic partnership agreements and social security agreements with a number of countries play an important role in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this year's Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is Engaging Diaspora, the Indian Growth Story. This is only appropriate since there have been concerns recently about the direction and content of India's growth story and about larger social and governance issues. It is important to bear in mind that in the last 4 years, the world economy has had to deal with two major financial crises, both emanating from the developed world. The Indian economy has not been immune to the consequences of these crises. From an impressive average annual GDP growth rate of over 8% from 2004 and 2010, our growth declined to 6.5% in 2011-12 and may fall below 6% in the current year. But despite domestic constraints and challenges, we are confident that our strong economic fundamentals, backed by sound policies, will enable us to return to a higher growth path. This is an imperative for us because we need rapid growth and a healthy economy to meet the aspirations of an increasingly young India and make our economic development more inclusive and more sustainable. With this in view, we have recently taken a number of steps to boost domestic and foreign investment, accelerate project implementation, and reform capital markets and the tax system. Among the most positive stories out of India in recent years are the acceleration in the rate of poverty reduction, stronger growth in the poorest states, and improved productivity and increased real wages in our agricultural sector. This is significant given that 65% of our population still relies on agriculture. On January 1 this year, we took a small first step to deliver benefits through direct transfers to beneficiaries using the digital Aadhaar platform. This is an example of our efforts to make growth more inclusive and government programs more efficient and less vulnerable to leakages of various sorts. We have just embarked on our 12th five-year plan with the ambition to sustain an annual growth rate of 8% per annum. For this, we will require enormous resources, reforms in policies and institutions, new models of public-private partnership, and community participation and innovation-driven science and technology. Even as we continue our focus on rural areas, and we must continue to do so, we will need to pay greater attention to our expanding cities and towns. New approaches will be needed to address challenges in areas like infrastructure, education, energy, water, and agriculture. While India's huge investable resources and large markets gives us confidence in strength and stability, we see international economic and technological partnerships as an integral part of our growth strategy. This is an important objective of our political and economic engagement in our region and across the world.